Do the thing that gets the story done, not perfect. That's been my mantra lately, and it's changed the way that I write. Because the truth is, I used to wait around for perfect conditions, the perfect sentence, the perfect story idea, but none of that matters if you're never gonna finish anything. So today, I wanna share the 3 things that have helped me actually finish the stories that I start, the things that have gotten me from page 1 to done. Let's start with the thing we all know we should be doing, but probably aren't doing enough of, and that's reading. And I'm not just talking about reading for pleasure, but reading like a writer. I used to put reading on the back burner when I got serious about writing. It felt like a chore or a distraction. But I've learned that the days I'm stuck, the days that writer's block shows up and is knocking on my window, those are the days I most need to be consuming words. When I'm reading regularly, something shifts inside of me. I start noticing structure, pacing, dialogue. I start thinking like an editor almost, and it's as if I have all of these ideas or I'm in conversation with what's on this page. Sometimes I'll stop and think, wait, what if this chapter ended 2 paragraphs earlier? Or could this scene have started in a different place? It becomes less about just enjoying the story and more about being in conversation with it. It's a different kind of fun, a more creative one. Consuming story and staying in touch with what other writers are doing helps to create a kind of fellowship for whatever your muse might be. So yeah, reading might feel passive, but it's one of the most active things you can do for your writing. And then there's a moment you are writing. You're in flow, words are pouring out until they're suddenly not. You hit a wall, that what happens next moment. That's when I like to say, find the worst case scenario and make it happen. I remind myself what this story is really about at its core. Who's this character? What are they afraid of losing? What would break them? And then I do that thing. So let's say you're writing a scene. If my character is a candle maker about to land the biggest sale of their life, I'll melt all the wax right before their customer arrives. If my character's sailing solo around the world trying to break a record, I'll break the engine, rip the sails, shut down every marina, and toss a few oddball characters in their path. These scenes might not make it to the final draft, and that's okay. What they do is reveal who my characters really are, and they'll give me all the raw material that I need. The goal here isn't perfection, it's pressure. Pressure reveals character. And then you can refine those scenes, you can refine those conflicts later in later drafts. Even if none of it makes it to the final draft, it gives me something to work with. I'm not staring at a blank screen hoping for genius to strike. I'm sifting through the mess that I made on purpose, looking for the parts that actually work. And trust me, there are always parts that will work. Now let's say you've written out your worst case scenario. You've got ideas scattered all over the place. You're staring at this giant pile of plot and wondering, where does this story actually begin? That brings us to my favorite tip, and that is start in the middle. I recently had the realization that when I'm stuck with a brilliant idea for a story, the first iteration of jotting anything down is just me downloading all of the files. Nothing's actually organized, nothing's actually a story. It's just pieces of a story. And what that means is my first draft is essentially everything happening off camera and me just trying to recap it. But then the real light bulb moment happens when I discover that perhaps the first idea or the first scene or the first piece of dialogue that I received that intrigued me so much is what's meant to happen at the end of the story. I get to start moving the pieces around and putting them in order for what's going to happen on camera. It's as if instead of recapping the story, I'm constructing it. And the best part of constructing it is that I always start in the middle. I might think I know the origin of why someone has done something or how something came to be, but none of that's important. What's important is figuring out how to keep the reader engaged. And so I'll go through the entire story this way, starting in the middle of whatever has happened and pulling important details that will remain off camera from the beginning and planting seeds for what's going to happen in the future chapters to come. When you start in the middle, you're not going to bore your reader with unnecessary backstory, but you're going to set the momentum and the pacing by saying, hey, this is what this story is going to be about because this is what's actually happening. I hope this makes sense and that it's helpful. Let me know if you have any important writing tips that you think every writer starting out should know. And let's keep this conversation going. And if you like this video, consider watching this one next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.